vamos a iniciar. Damos tiempo a Jussi. Hola, buenas tardes. Vamos a iniciar hoy la tercera sesión del segundo módulo del quinto curso. La tercera sesión del módulo Universidad y Desarrollo, Modelos Internacionales o Tradiciones Internacionales en la Educación Superior. Como recordarán, tuvimos la primera sesión con el doctor Roberto Rodríguez, en donde habló de los orígenes de la universidad, el modelo napoleónico, el modelo alemán, el mito humboldtiano, el modelo inglés. En la segunda sesión tuvimos al doctor Ken Kempner, que habló de la tradición universitaria norteamericana y en qué se había convertido y cuáles eran las debilidades y los problemas del sistema de la educación superior en ese país. Y hoy vamos a hablar de lo que se puede llamar las distintas tradiciones europeas diferentes a la tradición anglosajona, que ya Jussi nos dirá cuáles son las existentes o las que existieron en algún momento a su juicio y cómo éstas han ido convergiendo hacia el proceso contemporáneo de Bolonia. Y nos preguntábamos en el título de la sesión si existía una identidad común de la educación superior en Europa en el siglo XXI. De las lecturas asignadas y que están en la página para este módulo son imprescindibles. O sea, se dieron 8 lecturas, son imprescindibles, perdón, se dieron 7 lecturas, son imprescindibles 5, ¿sí? Algunas son breves, otras son un poco más largas. La de Piedras, la de el documento del Napoleón, el texto de Wittrock sobre las 3 tradiciones universitarias, el capítulo de Burton Clark y el texto de González Faraco, ¿sí? Creemos que es conveniente revisar las otras lecturas también, pero por lo menos es muy importante que ustedes puedan revisar estas que he mencionado. Recuerden que el viernes que viene por la mañana vamos a tener sesión de taller, vamos a hacer algunas modificaciones, trataremos de ajustar los tiempos de tal manera que la discusión no se corte. Hemos tratado de hacer un mejor trabajo para la elaboración del examen, y con la experiencia que hemos acumulado esperamos que se desarrolle mejor. Bueno, para esta sesión está, además de ustedes aquí presentes, están nuestros colegas de la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de México y de la Facultad de Estudios Superiores de Aragón, que está teniendo problemas técnicos, pero esperamos que finalmente logren consolidar la conexión vía videoconferencia. Me toca el honor de presentar al doctor Jussi Välimaa, que además de ser un especialista en educación superior, muy reconocido en Europa y en Estados Unidos, es un colega muy querido y un amigo al que por fin hemos tenido la oportunidad de traer a México. Jussi es un especialista, podríamos decir, en la utilización de perspectivas o aproximaciones culturales para el análisis de la educación superior. Esto ha sido su trabajo desde su tesis de doctorado, que fue dirigida por William Tierney de la Universidad del Sur de California, pero en su universidad en Jyväskylä, en Finlandia. Él es profesor de esta universidad de Jyväskylä, se escribe Jyväskylä. Él es una ciudad como a 120 kilómetros al norte de Helsinki, casi ligada con Helsinki por un lago magnífico. Es un lugar verdaderamente maravilloso. Jussi es profesor y jefe de investigación en el área de educación y cambio social de esta universidad. Es parte del Instituto Finlandés de Investigación Educativa. Tiene muchas publicaciones, destacan entre las más recientes el libro Perspectivas Culturales sobre la Educación Superior, Cultural Perspectives on Higher Education, publicado por la prestigiada editorial académica Springer Link. Él se formó, además de en el doctorado, en una experiencia que a mí siempre me ha llamado mucho la atención. En Europa hubo un grupo, algunos de ellos viven todavía, de académicos muy connotados. Hemos leído cosas de ellos aquí, entre los que estaban Maurice Kogan de la Gran Bretaña, Guy Nieve, Ulrich Teigler y otros de esa generación, que se plantearon en un momento dado la necesidad de formar a un conjunto de investigadores y académicos especializados en el estudio de la educación superior, y entonces montaron una cosa que le llamaron un taller europeo de educación superior, en donde un grupo de jóvenes, entonces, entre los que estaba Jussi, Välimaa y varios colegas más, durante los años 91 y 92, cada 3 meses se reunían en una ciudad europea para analizar temas de educación superior. Esto fue un proceso que no solo fue increíblemente formativo, sino que generó una red de especialistas de una edad similar, con distintas perspectivas analíticas enriquecidas por los contextos nacionales de los que venían. Había colegas italianos, alemanes, holandeses, finlandeses, ingleses, y cuando uno tiene la oportunidad de ir a alguna de las conferencias del Consorcio para el Estudio de la Educación Superior Europeo, todo este grupo es el que ahora está constituyendo un núcleo de investigación muy poderoso. Realmente un espacio de formación en el cual se formaron pues toda una generación de investigadores. Además de su trabajo académico, Jussi ha participado como analista para la OCDE. Más recientemente fue invitado por el gobierno de Irlanda para desarrollar un plan para la expansión y la consolidación de la educación superior en Irlanda, una experiencia ya no de cambio y de diseño de políticas a nivel institucional, sino a nivel nacional, y todo eso enriquece el seguimiento permanente del proceso más consistente o más marcado de desarrollo de la educación superior en Europa, que es el denominado proceso de Bolonia, ¿no? Sobre estos temas nos va a hablar Jussi. Jussi, queremos darte la bienvenida. La verdad es que es un gusto que estés entre nosotros. Él es miembro del Seminario de Educación Superior a la distancia, pero ahora tenemos la oportunidad de tenerlo en México. Entonces, pues muchas gracias por estar aquí.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Imanol. I would like to speak more Spanish than I can, but I would like to say muchas gracias por la invitación a vuestro seminario. Muchas gracias especialmente por mi amigo Imanol, un académico excelente. Lo siento mucho que no puedo hablar la lengua español. Estoy obligado a hablar inglés. So today I'm trying to speak to you about the Bolonia process and how it's related to the European identity of higher education. I have three interconnected themes which I will address today. First, to think about the the Bolonia process, then to think about what is a European identity in higher education, and then how these two are related or how they can be related. Being a historian, I think that I should begin by telling something about my background. You see this picture. What do you think that happens here? Well, yes, yes. So, well, I'm asking this provocative question because what happens here is that the president of the republic, the woman with red hair, she is visiting the University of Jyväskylä, year 2008, and she's accompanied by the rector of the university, and she is sitting right here behind the close to the president of the republic. The president of republic wanted to discuss with the university researchers on issues relating to family and family research on families. So they organized this meeting in a seminar room with the husband of the president and all the he's sitting there beside her, and with the group of researchers from the University of Jyväskylä, where I come from. I took this picture from the web page of the university, and what I wanted to say with this picture is that every researcher, including me, comes from a certain historical perspective and a certain historical context and cultural context. In Finland, it's not very common that president visits a university, but it's very possible that she does it or he does it. She is the first female president in Finland ever. She has been in her office for 11 years now. So this says something about the equality of the Finnish society, or the value of equality in Nordic societies. The other thing is that in Nordic countries, including Finland, we are used to having low hierarchies. So it's possible to meet people with the highest possible status in the same table. It's not very usual or what happens often, but it's possible. And the third thing is that universities in Finland and in many European countries, not in all European countries, but in many European countries, they have been defined and understood as national cultural institutions. So these national cultural institutions have been important in the making of their nations. And Finland is one of the countries where university has been a crucial institution in the making of the nation and the nation state. Norway is the same kind of country, and universities have indeed a deep role in making the national identities and national states. So that's about my background. And then about European higher education, I heard from Immanuel that you have heard already from the European higher education. So I will not go into very detailed description. I just want to say that if you think that there is a European higher education, well, there are higher education institutions, about 4,000 of them in Europe. There is almost 19 million students in Europe. There is 1.5 million staff members, professors, lecturers, investigadores, researchers, and so on. So it's in the light of the numbers, it's quite big system or systems of higher education. Then when you look at the European higher education systems, how they work, what are their social dynamics? Well, I think that one of the difficulties with looking at different national systems of higher education is that we can find the same elements practically from every higher education system. You have the ministries of education, and then you have higher education institutions with their more or less same structures with their boards and their academic senates, or whether they are integrated or not, and they have their faculties and individual academics and students. But when you look at the way they function, what are the important actors in each higher education system, they are very different. So they function differently. In Europe, it has been defined traditionally that we have 3 different systems of higher education, and with systems of higher education meaning that their ways of functioning, their social dynamic is different. I think that the first one is maybe, or one of them is Napoleonic system of higher education in France. When you look at the French system of higher education, well, to put it very simple, it's pretty complicated. But what is essential there is that they have their écoles normales, and those écoles normales were established by Napoleon to serve the Republic. So and at that time, traditional European universities, which were mainly serving the purposes of the Catholic Church or other churches, they were really in crisis. And as Björn Wittrock has written in one of his excellent papers, he said that this was really the point of time where European universities were close to being discontinued. So, but in France, they established this école normale system, and the universities continued with very weak research traditions. Then we have a continental or Humboldtian or German-speaking or Humboldtian universities, which really are defined by the relationship with the state, because the state gives the autonomy and the money for the universities to work. So in those countries, autonomy of higher education institutions is defined in relation with the state. This kind of continental or Humboldtian universities we have in German-speaking countries, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands. Well, Dutch is one of the dialects of German, but don't tell it to Dutch people. And in Nordic countries. So in Nordic countries, well, the whole term Humboldtian is an interesting one, because like all the systems or the conceptions, it's a political construction. The famous paper of Wilhelm von Humboldt, it was published something like 1905. Before that, nobody knew about the famous Humboldtian University. But it's a very practical model, because you can say that in Humboldtian University, teaching and research are united, institutions have institutional autonomy, professors have freedom to research whatever they wish and teach whatever they wish, and students have freedom to study whatever they wish. So this is the second main tradition, and the third one is Anglo tradition. In present times, it seems that Anglo tradition is expanding globally. In Europe, it's represented by United Kingdom and Ireland. And there the social dynamics is different because they have always been, one could say, closer to the market. The relationship with the state has been weaker, and they have been closer to the market. And then I would like to say or to define that that southern universities, which we have mainly in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, they are also their own group of universities. Many of them were established already in the Middle Ages. They have been closely related with the Catholic Church. They are not campus universities like the Anglo-American universities. Their relationship with the state has been different from Humboldtian universities. They have been more maybe closely related with their regions, etc. So they have a different social dynamics. And when you look at those universities today in Italy, it's not very much mass higher education. I would say that it's mess higher education with open access to universities. It's really difficult to organize the studying and teaching in universities when there are clearly too many students. With universities having no control not enough control to decide who will be their students. But these are these three models. But in addition to that, we should pay attention to the fact that in some countries we have binary systems, we have universities, we have polytechnics, like in Austria, Germany, Finland, Norway, Netherlands, Portugal, Ireland. In some countries we have federal systems, like in Germany, and the federal system creates different social dynamics compared to single nation state. And then we have small systems of higher education, like in Malta, where they have one university, or big, like in Germany or in United Kingdom, where they have more than 100 universities. So, to put it very shortly, European higher education is more defined with the diversity than unity, because of the different social dynamics in different parts of the Europe. And this is the context for the Bolonia process. So this is where the aims to bring some kind of unity to European higher education systems was invented, or was well, I could say was invented. Before I go to the Bolonia process, I think that I should say something of the historical backgrounds to the Bolonia process. One of the clear starting points for the Bolonia process was the Magna Carta Universitatum from 1988. And this was a time when Europe was still divided into the socialist camp and into the capitalist camp, when perestroika was in good speed in Soviet Union, when it seemed that this division of Europe was eternal and it cannot be changed. So in that political situation, European university rectors, they gave this declaration where they focused on and emphasized the common cultural ground for European universities. I met this. Well, actually, why I want to start with this Magna Carta Universitatum is that when I was evaluating Hungarian higher education development projects in 1994 in Hungary, I had a discussion with a couple of colleagues or university rectors, and they mentioned Magna Carta Universitatum. So even though it remained quite invisible in in many established Western European countries, it was really important for Eastern European countries. Because clearly universities were at that time perhaps the only European institution that had the same rules, the same functions in different societies. So that was the one of the starting points. The other starting point was the Sorbonne Declaration in 1998. When the ministers of education from France, Germany, Italy, United Kingdom, and one country is missing, they declared, they gave a declaration that Europe was not only about economy, but Europe is also built upon the intellectual, cultural, social, and technical dimensions of our continent. This is how this is taken from the document. For example, when the UK Minister of Education came back to London, he was really strongly criticized that how could you give this kind of declaration without negotiation, having negotiations with the European Union or with their own governments. And what they wanted to show is that maybe I should say something about European Union at this phase, because at that time in 1990s, European Union was mainly about common markets. Education had been at the periphery of the European Union. European Union has never been established to create any kind of united area for education. It was established to create peace and peace among European countries that have been fighting against each other during the last 100 years. It was created to increase or foster the European economic development. So this was something of an exception to this European way of defining Europe in purely economic terms. And they aimed to a joint declaration of the harmonization of the architecture of the European higher education systems. The word harmonization was politically quite sensitive in Europe in that time. And why is that? It's because European Union is kind of a unique process between independent sovereign nation states. And in European Union, nation states give away part of their sovereign powers to European Union. But where they don't want to give their sovereign power is education. And why is that? I think it's pretty evident. Education in societies is the channel to socialize people into their national cultures. It's the most important individual instrument or channel to do that. But what was quite interesting with this Sorbonne Declaration was that when ministers in other European countries read this declaration, they wanted to join this declaration. And 31, well, it turned out that 31 European nation states wanted to join this declaration. So the Bolonia declaration. Well, there is not one motive to join in the signatory countries of the Bologna process. The motives they vary between real reform needs to reform their national systems of higher education, and to unwillingness to stay outside of an important European process. And here again, I think that I should say something about the European Union, because in essence, European Union is more like a process of integration, political and economic integration, than a federal state or federal structure. And what we see right now is in Europe is interesting because we have this economic crisis. Will it lead to a situation where we have when we have a federal state in Europe one step closer to us? Well, that's possible. But and I think that what also should be remembered about the Bolonia Declaration is that it's really a political declaration. I've cited here the then Portuguese Minister of Education who said in an interview published by Amaro and Veiga that all its words were analyzed in great detail to avoid excessive embarrassment to any country. This is also European politics. Such a document is both remarkable and vague. Well, you can see it. And each party having surely its own intentions in its country. So essentially, a Bologna Declaration is a political declaration. But there are also clearly pragmatic needs to bring some kind of unity, some kind of standards into European higher education, and European higher education institutions and students really have felt those needs. I also want to point out that European Commission was left outside of this process. This is what our ministers of education say many times. Well, about the contents. The main objective of the Bologna process was to construct the European area of higher education and to promote it worldwide. Well, this is basically I could say that the Bologna process is globalization of higher education in practice in Europe. What it says in the document, firstly it says that the aim is to an adoption of a system of easily readable and comparable degrees. In practice, this means diploma supplement. What is diploma supplement? Do you know? Yes, so you know. So it's description of what are the contents of the diploma. Adoption of system essentially based on two main cycles, meaning bachelor degrees and master's degrees. In many European countries, including Germany and Italy, they didn't have this kind of system. In Finland, we had it till 1970s, but it was discontinued, and with this process it came back. Later on it was extended into three main cycles, the third being doctoral education. The establishment of a system of credits, the ECTS system. This was kind of revolution for many European higher education systems, because it was not the habit to define your studies on the basis of how much work you used for each teaching or learning unit. So it was this is based on time spent on studying in university. And I know the difficulties of creating this kind of measurement for each course, each entity. It's a huge work. In Finland, we had done it in 1970, so it was technical. One study week was changed into ECTS point with 1.5. European credit transfer system. sometimes when you look at our international students and they are really interested in ECTS points, I might think that this is more like European credit tourism system. But that's that is bring some kind of unity to European higher education. It also aimed to promote mobility among staff and students in Europe. It aimed to promote European cooperation in quality assurance. Here again, we have a very sensitive issue at hand, and this led to the following definitions. It could not be said that there should be established a system of accreditation in Europe, because in some European countries we don't have systems of accreditation, we have systems of evaluation. So they formulated like this: a system of accreditation, certification, or comparable procedures. This could be accepted by all signatory countries. And this was established, agreed in a follow-up meeting in Bergen 2003. Then the next step was to publish standards and guidelines in European higher education area, which means that every European higher education evaluation council uses the same guidelines. And finally, this led to the quality assurance register for European higher education, which means that in order to be able to do quality assurance, accreditation, evaluation, institutional evaluation, and things like that, each national higher education evaluation council needs to be registered in this quality assurance register. And it really is a homogenizing standardization process in Europe. But all of this has happened to respect the cultural diversity in Europe. The sixth one was the promotion of the necessary European dimension in higher education. And I don't know what this means. But it means necessary European dimension in higher education. Well, we'll see what happens. In different follow-up meetings, lifelong learning was taken into the agenda in Prague 2001. The social dimension of higher education was taken in Bergen 2003, in London 2007. And this is important because the social dimension, this means practically taking seriously the need to widen the participation of higher education into low socioeconomic groups, students coming from low socioeconomic groups, to minorities, taking gender issues seriously, etc. This is also an example of a goal for the Bolonia process, which was not goal for the Nordic higher education systems, but this was goal for southern higher education system, for the German system of higher education, for the British system of higher education. So it aims to when it ended in the Bolonia process, it means that there needs to be taken actions to promote the social dimension. And third tier, which was the doctoral education, so it was in Bergen 2003. Then something about the nature of the Bolonia process. I already said that there was 31 countries in signing this declaration. I interviewed one of the Finnish representative, and she said that it was really a kind of Kafka kind of situation where people in the same room and they couldn't come out of the room before they all could agree what was written in the declaration. But now we have 46 It's true. Yeah. I think it's quite funny. It's like selecting a new pope or something like that. And then we have now we have 46 signatory countries in the Bologna process. We have one additional member. European Commission was EC was accepted as an additional member. We have 8 consultative members, and they include representatives of students, of business, of universities, European Universities Association. But what is interesting is that university staff, or the representatives of university staff, are excluded. Not because they want to stay outside, but because they are not wanted to get into the process. Well, a compromise was that Education International is representing also university staff in Europe, but Education International represents teachers from primary school to higher education. And what is also important, that all these 46 signatory countries, and not all of them are Europe, they include Azerbaijan, Georgia, I think Kazakhstan, and other European countries, transitory countries. They all need to accept the principles of the Council of Europe. So they need to accept the values of the European values, or the values of the European higher education. European values, democracy, free market, and things like that, human rights. So there is a common value basis for those countries. What is also important is that the Bologna process has a secretariat. Secretariat changes from country to another when it's agreed where the next follow-up meeting will be held. There is a follow-up group which is following up, or follow-up groups which are following up what is happening in these different lines of action. There are biannual meetings, and this creates really a political forum for discussing the process and its objectives, and what has been already achieved and what should be done next. I also mentioned that there are three different kind of follow-up reports. Trench reports, which are made by the European University Association. Well, this is a funny name, because European University Association is representing European university rectors. Not European University, but university rectors. There are stock-taking reports where the data is provided by national ministries of education, and these are interesting reports because when you read the stock-taking reports, you can see that how wonderfully everything has developed in Europe, and this is of course because Ministry of Education, they want to show that they are actively taking national measures and actions to do what has been agreed. Realities are a different matter. Bologna with student ties is made by European Student Union. The problem with all of these reports is that their academic reliability is somewhat questionable. Trench reports is based on gathered from something like 900 universities in Europe, and you remember that there are 4,000 in Europe. Stock-taking reports are really political declarations more than academic, and the student ties has quite limited number of students who participate in it. So academically, it's a bit difficult to say what is happening in each European country, but there are a good number of academic books and articles written on what has happened in different European countries during the Bologna process. And what is the present situation of the Bologna process? This is my personal opinion more than an academic argument, but it seems that that Bologna process is in problem, because it has succeeded more or less all the crucial goals, and now they are really trying to figure out what to do next. What would be the ambitious enough goals for the continuation of the Bologna process? It also seems that the political momentum, so to say, is fading away. That Bologna process has indeed changed something in the European higher education, and its power to change more is getting weaker. Well, the main aims are, and this is taken from the websites, are to promote and enhance European higher education and its worldwide attractiveness and competitiveness, to intensify policy dialogue, to strengthen cooperation based on partnerships, and to further the recognition of qualifications. And I also know that Bologna process seems very interesting for many countries outside of Europe or European Union, so that there is cooperation with USA, Latin American countries and Asia Pacific countries. Here, these are the Bologna action lines, as they are called. So they have different follow-up procedures for each of these action lines: qualifications framework, mobility, quality assurance, employability, European higher education area in the global context, joint decrees, recognition, social dimension, lifelong learning, stock taking, and Bologna beyond 2010. If you are really interested in the Bologna process, it's very easy to go to the web pages and click. Everything is there. Bologna process is really an open process. You can see find all the documents from there. So and what about the impacts of the Bologna process? I think that it's fair to say that politically, the Bologna process has been a success story. Why? Because it's so popular. It has been expanding. The 3-cycle structure of studies is really expanding in the European Union. The implementation of the diploma supplement is really a common thing in Europe. Even though students in some countries say that they don't know what is diploma supplement, but every university must give it if a student requires a diploma supplement. European credit transfer system is really helping student mobility. There is a more homogeneous European quality assurance system, and because it's also expanding outside of Europe. It has also solved quite many practical problems at European higher education institutions. I have not spoken about the qualifications framework or the work that has been done in many European universities to create some kind of unified criteria in the same area, in the same discipline, or in the same degrees in different European countries. So there are besides the national level, there has been quite intensive institutional cooperation, both nationally and internationally, and it means that the master's degrees and the bachelor's degrees are really more homogeneous at the moment than they were before the Bologna process. It's also important that it's not coordinated or led by the European Union or the European Commission, but it comes close, even though it comes very close to the objectives of the European Union, and nowadays it's also supported financially by the European Commission. And as I said in the beginning, Europe, one of the reasons for this process is that nation states are unwilling to give away their sovereignty in education. And then more about the impacts of the Bologna process. I think it's fair to say that we don't have one Bologna process, but we have something like 40 different Bologna processes, because each nation state has used the Bologna process for its own purposes. According to Johanna Witte in her dissertation, in which she studied the reforms of the national curricular systems, he wrote that they were largely determined by the heritage of national higher education systems and the internal dynamics of the political processes, more than the objectives of the Bologna process. So the Bologna process has really given an impetus for national higher education systems, but what has happened in each higher education system is really strongly rooted in its own traditions and national goals. What has also happened with the Bologna process, and this is the fact that it has opened new competitive horizons. This is a term defined by my colleague David Hoffman. And with these new competitive horizons, it can be said that in some disciplines, the global perspective of higher education has always been the case, like in nuclear physics or in many natural sciences. So it has been always clear that they have global cooperation and global competition. Whereas in some fields where the focus has really been national or even local, like in education of social workers or teachers, there has been no need for international global competition or cooperation. And then we have disciplines which are in between the global and the national orientations. Well, actually, if I use sports language, I could say that in some departments they are used to have international global stars. In some departments they have national champions, and in some departments they have local heroes. So they have different orientations. But what has happened with the Bologna process, that it has really deepened the European perspectives in European universities, and for this reason the process of globalization have been faster than they would have been without the Bologna process. And this is important because in research we have had these different rankings and ways of thinking in terms of global higher education. In teaching in Europe we didn't have it. Now it's creeping in. Yes, the other small tiny thing is about identity. Yeah.
Quien tiene un pointer dorado, ha estado apareciendo el anuncio aquí. Alguien se dejó las luces prendidas. ¿Ya estuvo? Órale. Entonces va el suru titanio, un dorado, un titanio, bueno, luego protestan al final de que nadie les avisó, ¿eh?
So am I allowed to continue?
Yes, go ahead. Oh, you're perfectly on time.
Yes, unfortunately this is only water. What about the identity? When we think about what is the impact of the Bologna process with the European identity in higher education, I think that I need to say some words about identity. First, I don't like the term postmodern, but anyway, in this case it's useful. So that the postmodern identity, according to Bauman, is fluid. Identity is not something that you are born in or what is given to you on the basis of your social class or your region. Identity is fluid. It's a process of interaction with significant others, and this comes from my dissertation. So that especially in academic world, we have identity has many layers. We are in the same time we are influenced by our academic traditions, by the epistemic traditions, by the ways of thinking in different disciplines. If you think about what would be the answer of an academic to the question of what is life, for example, if you ask from a biologist or from a physicist or from a theologian or from a humanist. So how we understand and see world is really in academic world is influenced by our disciplinary traditions. Then we have professional groups. I'm a professor in Finnish University. When I discuss some matters in higher education, I really feel like belong to the group of professors. And then we have national traditions. We have our friends and families. And the other thing which is also worth of remembering is that we are both members and creators and recreators of our cultures. Because and this is what Bill Tierney and Rob Rhodes have written, that the culture consists of webs of significance where people simultaneously create and exist within culture. This comes from Clifford Geertz in a slightly redefined way. So identity and culture may have many layers, and we have the identity is a process which lasts throughout the lifetime, whether we like it or not, says Charles Taylor, and I believe her. I believe him. So what is this? This is I took this picture to remember that in European countries, this is a hat which is given to a doctor in Finland after you have finalized your dissertation. I have one, but this is black. This is blue. There are different colors. But if you look at the academic traditions in different European countries, even the way the dissertation is defended is very different in different countries. They have the same elements. There is the poor doctoral student who is defending his or her dissertation. There is a group of opponents who try to show weak points in that, and then there is a chairman who says stop if it gets too unpleasant. But in the Netherlands, it lasts 45 minutes. Each member of the 45 minutes. It's true. And it starts with a guy who comes with a club and says it's the defense of the dissertation begins. Then he disappears, and each of the opponent has one question to ask. And then after 45 minutes he comes back and says it's closed. Bam. And that's it. In Finland it can last. It's very hard. I've been there. So in Finland it can last 3 hours. Normally it lasts 1.5 hours. And there's only one opponent or maximum 2 opponents, and it's really, at good cases, it's really interesting academic discussion. It's debating, it's presenting arguments and counter-arguments. And all of this is happening in different ways in different European universities, and Anglo universities have their own traditions. So how is the Bologna process having influence on the European higher education identity? I decided that I take a very pragmatic approach. So I look at what has happened with and in the interactions between academics, students, policymakers. And if you look from this perspective, it's clear that the Bologna process has intensified European cooperation. It has intensified networking between different European higher education institutions. I get almost weekly some kind of request to participate in some kind of research project which is coordinated by some of the European universities. It created this European Universities Association, which I mentioned, so that the European universities and university rectors are more networked with each other than they used to be. And Bologna process is also one of the policy tools that that European Commission uses to reform European higher education. And this is a matter of fact, no matter what the Minister of Education say. But they say that this is controlled by the nation states because this story is focused on the national audiences. So student mobility. My assumption is that when people go to study in another country, this is having impact on the personality or on their way of thinking or seeing the world. Student mobility is also one of the traditional European Commission instruments to create European identity, and this is how it's defined in the documents. Erasmus program, which was established in 1987, it's really supporting European student mobility. You can have a grant from the European Commission which helps you to live in another country. If we look at the figures, in 2008-2009 there was almost 200,000 students who moved from one country to another. During this period there have been almost 2 million students. Well, it's only 4% of the European of all European students, but still it's 2 million people during from 1987 to 2008, and this number is increasing. Average student who goes to study in another university is 22 years old. She's a female, which is a slightly overrepresentation, and she stays 6.2 months abroad, half a year. And there have been done quite many empirical studies on the student mobility, and it's clearly it's true that students' experiences are normally positive in terms of personal growth and comparative perspectives open to one's culture and higher education system. And comparative perspective, I think it means also not seeing the other culture, but it means that you see your own culture from a different perspective, which I think is valuable. The most popular countries where students who want to go to study are Spain, France, Germany, United Kingdom. And Germany, France, Spain and Italy send the most outgoing students. However, when we compare the number of the outgoing students with the number of graduates in different countries, so it's a bit slightly different picture. It's Greece, Italy, Hungary, Finland and Sweden which are sending more students than what is the European average. And maybe I should also say that that Erasmus Mundus program is offered for global students, for example for Mexican students. If you want to go and study in Europe, Erasmus Mundus is one of the chances to do it, and it's even paid. They even pay a scholarship for that. So this was commercial. I think that the European Commission would be very satisfied. Yep. So here they are in my university campus. International students. In my university, there is something like 7% of the students are nowadays international students. The European average is something like 6%, with ranging from 20% in France and Spain to 4 or 3% in some other countries. But this begins to show, and what this also means for the institutions is that they need to create their structures to serve and help the international students, their housing, study programs, master's degree programs, and things like that. So it's really, student mobility is not only about the student mobility, but it's also changing European universities to take into account the international perspectives. Staff mobility is another matter. This is also supported by the European Commission. The numbers are pretty small. 2% of the academic staff is moving, but this is used in many different and I would say creative ways. So if you want to go, if you have a colleague in a European university and you should be able to do some kind of research there, so you apply for this Erasmus program for university teachers, and when you get the grant, you go and teach some, maybe 1 or 2 courses and do research there. I just heard this discussion when I flew from Finland to from my town to Helsinki, where a couple of physics were saying that, well, you should use it because I've used it and it's very practical. And the most active countries in outgoing teachers are coming from Czech Republic, Finland, Liechtenstein. And what I think is also important that these aims to create European identity they are motivated not to make money, but to create a European higher education identity. And these mobility programs are major supporters of temporary student and staff mobility. When I say temporary, we should remember that student mobility is not only temporary, but there are also students who come to study in Europe from other countries and to make their degrees and stay more than 6.2 months. So here are the happy academic staff mobility members. I also would like to pay attention to the policy and academic cooperation, because I think it's what is really important for the European higher education identity is that the Bolonia process has really created a forum where to discuss the higher education as a European level phenomenon, not only as a national level, but European level phenomenon. And it's evident that policy makers in European countries, they are networked better now than they were before the Bologna process, because of this structured follow-up process related to which is part of the Bologna process. It's also clear that institutional cooperation, both at the departmental level and has intensified. And this international cooperation serves practical research and teaching needs. With this, I would like to say that the European credit transfer system has really made the student mobility easier, because before the Bologna process, when you went to study abroad, there were no guarantee that it would be regarded as a study. So now there is a structure which really supports student mobility, and this is easy also for the departments. they know where the students come and how to measure what they have done there. Cooperation on qualifications framework has really bring some unity to European higher education institutions and degrees. And I also would like to, I will not go into the theoretical perspective by Ivar Blithely, but the nature of changes in the Bologna process is more like interactive than hierarchical, traditional hierarchical higher education reform, where the Minister of Education decides something and then it gives money and regulations to the institutions and they say what the Minister of Education said. But the Bologna process has really created interaction between higher education institutions, and without going to ask from the Minister of Education whether this can be done or not. So it has created vertical integration in European higher education. And here are the happy faces of the Ministers of Education from the Bologna Ministerial Anniversary Conference 2010. I took this picture because I wanted to show you that the ministers of European ministers of higher education and their staff, they meet regularly. And even though I have not seen studies of the networking, but it's evident that it's easier to contact people who you know, with whom you have discussed. And this is the forum where the European level higher education policy and identity is created to some extent, to identifying the similar problems in different countries, similar challenges and things like that. So I'm closing my coming to close to my presentation. If I begin to conclude, I think it's clear that Bologna process has broadened cooperation and interaction between higher education institutions and academics in Europe. So, and this is created some kind of a more structured understanding of the European higher education area. Student mobility is broadening young Europeans' perspectives on Europe. There are even some questionnaires made on that, and it said something like 64% of the students who were participating in Erasmus studies, they really had a better understanding of their own and the country where they visited. Academic identities are influenced by increased European cooperation in research and teaching, and research part is of course not related to the European to the Bologna process, but it's part of the European research area which is promoted by the European Commission, and the dream of the European Commission is to bring closer together the European higher education area and the European research area. And as I said, the Bologna process is really a policy forum to discuss the European the development of Europe as a social entity. And yes, so I think I said basically everything that is in this slide. What I want to focus here is that when we speak about the needs to reform European universities, this is one of the crucial parts of the European Strategy 2020. And then the European Commission clearly states how it wants to reform the European higher education. And Bologna process for them is one of the policy instruments. And there have been taken place many reforms in European higher education recently. I will not go into that, it would be deserve another lecture. But what I want to focus or emphasize is that together with the intensification of the European academic networks it has also increased the power of the European academics, because when you think about the different evaluation processes in institutional evaluation, teaching, research, the evaluators are normally European academics. So despite the strengthening of the management of European universities, the power of the academics in some issues is getting stronger. And this is what my colleague Ior Blakely has suggested on the basis of an empirical study. So, and why is this picture? It should say Wissenarbeit macht frei. This was written in my university in a bridge from one campus to another campus when the university reform when the university law was reformed in Europe. In Finland it went through. We have universities are more like corporate entities nowadays than they used to be. They are separated from the state machinery. The same thing was attempted in Norway, but it didn't go through. The same thing was attempted in the Netherlands, but it took a different shape. The same thing was attempted in Austria, but it took a different form. This is to make you remember that when I'm speaking about the European higher education or the European identity of higher education, it's not a monolithic entity. There are tensions inside European nation states, between European nation states, inside higher education institutions. So this is the if I say that the European one of the good European traditions is the tradition to present arguments for and against what is happening in societies and universities. So this is a reminder. I want to this is my last slide. I want to pay attention to the fact that cultural change, which is one of the possible outcomes of the Bolonia process and which is related to the European identity of higher education. Cultural change is a process which cannot be managed, and there has been a debate on this in academia. And I think it cannot be managed, but it can be initiated, it can be influenced. And it seems that on the basis of all the things that happened have happened during the Bologna process or close to the Bologna process in the same time, it's evident that the European layer of academic identities is getting stronger, is strengthening. But still, my last question is, where are the European public intellectuals? And this I borrow this from Russell Jacobi, who wrote a book on private and public intellectuals. What I want to say with this is that there are I don't know. Well, there are very few people, if at all, who really look at Europe as a social entity, who really try to address the European academic community, who want to raise European questions. It's more usual to have national intellectuals or private intellectuals, which means people who write to their academic peers and not try to address the wider public. So, as long as we don't have European public intellectuals, I don't know how strong will be the European identity of higher education. That was it. Thank you.
Gracias, Jussi. Vamos a dar paso al receso de 15 minutos, regresar con preguntas, ¿no? Y llevarnos sobre todo este contraste intenso entre el proceso más grande y más intenso a nivel mundial en un intento de convergencia en la educación superior, que sin embargo produce al mismo tiempo un proceso que sintetizó Jussi no de diferenciación, pero sí de mantenimiento y recreación de las identidades nacionales. Entonces, creación de una identidad única europea y creación de identidades nacionales en medio de un único proceso que se ha denominado el proceso de Bolonia, ¿no? Para que queda esto como un marco para preguntas y para discusión en la segunda parte. Gracias.